Hey, and welcome to another episode of The Opportunity. I'm your host, Greg Elfring, the Director of Marketing here at Empire Flippers. And today I got a very good friend of mine coming back onto the podcast for the third time. I think it might be the most anyone's ever been on the podcast. Mina's Elias. He runs a massive Amazon FBA marketing agency. He actually just recently, which I was surprised by, I didn't know because he never messaged me about it when it happened, but he actually sold his FBA business with us. And we get into a little bit of that onto this podcast. But mostly we talk about what does the future really hold for Amazon FBA. It's been a weird couple of years with now that the COVID bump has gone away, aggregators are died. So what are the remaining effects of all of this? And I'm pleased to say, and I think Minas would agree with me, even though he didn't say this outright in there, but I think the future is pretty bright for a lot of Amazon FBA owners, whether you decide to sell your business or grow it, because while a lot of the M&A action has cooled, there are still businesses that are being sold. There are still buyers who want to buy. And the revenue dips that the FBA owners are running their businesses right now, while a lot of them have dipped, it's not incredibly severe. So I think Minas gives a lot of great advice here about staying on top of everything that's happening on Amazon. And we do get a little bit into off of Amazon too. So if you've been wondering a little bit about TikTok or influencers, stuff like that, then this might be a very good podcast for you. So with all that said, let's get into it. I'll see you on the other side. All right, I got my friend Minas Elias here with me for the third time. I was just talking to you offline that this might be the only guest I've had on three times. You and I go way back. I know you've introduced yourself at least twice before on this podcast, but maybe give a quick 30-second overview of who you are for someone listening who's never heard of you.
Yeah, I'm a competitive guy, so I gotta set the record for number
Each
of
introduction must get better.
yeah. I gotta set the record for most podcast appearances. Yeah, my name is Mina Elias. I'm the founder and CEO of Trivium Group, which is an Amazon marketing agency. I started a supplement brand back in 2018. I came from corporate world, bachelor's and master's in chemical engineering, chemistry, worked in corporate, hated it, started a supplement brand, decided that Amazon was the best way that I was going to sell it, grew it, scaled it to seven figures, kind of wasn't an expert, just became experienced, shared my knowledge, blew up in the space, started, sharing like everything that I knew, and then eventually ended up starting the agency to help other brands because the demand was super high. Grew from one employee on the agency side to 83 now, and about 160 162 brands under management. And what we do is basically integrate with any brand and take ownership of their Amazon ads, creatives, SEO, reviews, grow them, scale them, do whatever it takes to make more profit.
Awesome. And you gave me a pretty cool update about a business that you recently sold. So why not inspire the audience a bit with that?
Yeah. So this is like a quick, nice story time. But I started my brand, right? MMA Nutrition was a supplement brand, and in late, or let's say mid 2019, my friend, at the time, hit me up and said, "Hey, you have the expertise. I have an amazing idea. Let's start like this women's like supplement, which is it was a celery powder, celery juice powder." He said celery powder is a huge trend. Let's do it. I'm like, okay, super cool. I can manufacture it. I have the team to do the creatives, labels, all that stuff. So we partnered on it, got it on Amazon, grew it, actually became a very profitable business. And it was very, very low ad spend. And we were ranked the top of page one. And we made a lot of profit out of it. And then, it came time to sell. Like things happened in between. I think my partners had like other things going on. So I ended up losing them, bringing a new partner on. And we decided, okay, after fixing up the business and increasing the EBITDA, it was time to sell. So we got it on Empire Flippers. Took a little bit of time, but it was a very, very awesome experience. So you can use this as a testimonial of how good Empire Flippers is, because it was a very pleasant experience. They held my hand the whole way. It was my first business that I'd sold ever. But yeah, sold it and I wiped out every debt that I had. So I had about $100,000 in student loans from like my bachelor's and master's. I had credit card debt that I accumulated building MMA Nutrition and all this stuff. And it wiped everything clean, and I had like more to spare, and it was pretty solid.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. Just for the audience out there, Mina's told me that right before we got on this podcast. I hadn't realized we actually sold your business. We, get so many deals. We hadn't talked in a while. So that's really cool, man. it's awesome to hear that you like, clean financial slate, got a little bit of extra splurge money if you wanted to grow some other stuff. And it sounds like your agency is going well. And I think you sold in 2022. And as most of my audience, at least in the FBA space, knows, when it comes to M&A, 2022 wasn't an easy year to sell. So congratulations on that. 2023 has been a hard year as well in the M&A world, which does bleed right into my first question, actually, since you have so many clients under brand management. You've been around for years doing this. How does the FBA industry look like today versus, say, back in the heat of 2020 and 2021? What are you seeing out there in the industry?
Yeah, I think there's two things that happen. It's like, bull and bear market, right? So I think we're not in a bull market anymore. It was a bull market. It's now
Deep
maybe
in the bear's den.
yeah, it's definitely getting closer to a bear market, but two things have happened, right? The first thing is the general macro, economy, which is I'm noticing that everyone is more and more lean and they are, becoming way more financially aware, cash is tighter, just generally overall, there's more brands, less, consumer spending. So it's getting a little bit tough. Not to say that like, oh, like anything's going to happen to businesses. If you're built, to last, you're going to last this period and you're going to go into another bull market. If not, you should be preparing to be super lean, have very strong financials, good client acquisition, not relying on like, anything that might, any like critical event that might break your business. But then the other thing that happened, especially for Amazon brands, is COVID hit. And what happened, you saw with like, Thrasio, Unibrands, all this stuff, they all raised capital. They all started acquiring businesses. Everyone heard about it. And I used to consult in like early 2020, like before COVID, and I would talk to people and they would like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like Amazon's gonna, devalue my business, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I'm not sure. These are like, the bigger D2C kind of companies. And then COVID hits and it's like, let's say, call it like late 2020, early 2021. And then the same people hit me up and they're like, I need to get on Amazon now. Can you help me? And so what happened is like all the institutional capital and like everyone started funding and like getting into the space, but on top of that every single traditional retailer, direct to consumer brands, they were really open their eyes to the fact that like Amazon is a force of nature and online is very 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 important. And I think the thing that like also pushed Amazon just a little bit over is everyone's logistics were kind of messed up and Amazon's logistics were pretty solid. Like in the peak of COVID, when everything was shut down, you can get things maybe like in a week or two, when everything else like you'll get in a month. And then I think within 2 months, Amazon was back to like 2 3 day shipping, 4 day shipping max. And then obviously now they're like 1 and 2 day shipping. But I think there's like how much they care about the customer experience really set them up for now. Everyone wants to be on there. So what does that mean for like the regular brands who are on Amazon or any brand that's on Amazon? Is now it's no longer the 2016 17 days where put up a product, the image is okay, whatever, I'll get to the content later, I'll update the SEO later. You can't do any of that. It's now like, even the clients that we have now that we launched them, I'm like, I need your main image to be better than everyone else's main image. Your content, like I make the designer show me the top two competitors' content and me in the middle. And if we're not clearly better, like I'm saying, like, make more revisions. Brand story, premium A plus, your SEO has to be optimized. When I go to your product detail page, it needs to be as if you've been on Amazon for 10 years and it's perfect. And the only thing is that we need to, run ads and get you more reviews. And that's it. And so that's kind of the biggest two things that I'm noticing is, cash is tight. It's a bear market. Supply is high and demand is low. Demand, like consumer demand, is low. And then competition is increasing and no longer are able to just, like just set up a business. It's now sophisticated. You need a really good ads team. You need very good content, very good creative. You need a review strategy, a long-term review strategy. Like leave no stone unturned, basically.
Like you mentioned, a lot of the foundational stuff on the DDC stuff aside of going into Amazon, the devaluing of the brand. I've heard that before and I never truly understood it. Like, I guess in certain edge cases that could be the case, but in my view, like, and I think this is a mistake FBA people make, is they view it as like their entire business, and the DDC, they mistake it not viewing Amazon as another marketing channel, right? Like, there's so
Mhm.
much halo effect. Like, if you're running a Facebook ad to, I don't know, dog bowl, and someone wants to buy it, then they don't buy it from your Shopify store, but they go on Amazon and then they see that same dog roll, like, oh, that's the one, right? Like, it's just like another very powerful touch point. How many clients did you say you're serving out with your agency?
162.
So you have a pretty good bird's eye view then. I'd be curious if you're seeing, like, have you seen revenue seriously dip since we're starting to enter into more of this bear market, or is it something lower, like say 10-15%?
No, I want to say maybe like 30% of brands are experiencing dips. It's not like crazy bad or anything like that, but there is a good amount of brands that are experiencing dips. And then we go and we look at the market, and their market share is essentially the same. So, like, their revenue is down, their market share is the same based on like, and the way they calculate market share is we track everyone in that makes up that market's revenue and what
Hmm.
percent you're getting out of that revenue. Like, you're making 100,000, the whole market is a million, you're 10%. And so with the same market share, revenue is down, which is kind of like an indicator that, like, hey, maybe the demand is just down or spending is down overall. But yeah, we're starting to see that. It's not looking, I mean, I'll tell you, at least like at a baseline, it's not like a strong market. It's like maybe the same, a little bit weaker for some brands. Nothing too crazy, right? Like, it's just like, 15, 20, thirty
Yeah.
percent max of like, lower revenue. There's some brands that we're talking to that are like, our revenue is lower year over year, and we're looking at everything, and it's like, there is no reason that the revenue is lower year over year unless it's just consumer spending. And we're noticing a little bit in the higher priced products, like the 80 to $200 product range. We're noticing it there.
That makes sense. Imagine those are less commodities, and when you get above $80, the like, late night, like I'm just gonna one click buy this, it becomes a little bit more of an intense conversation with yourself, right? That's interesting. So, from what I've seen in the M&A market, like, we're going to get into this, but with a lot of the major players who are acquiring dying, like obviously the M&A market has been heavily wounded. But for my FBA friends, I'd say the revenue side is still not nearly as wounded as what we're seeing on the sell side, on the exit side, which is a really good sign. Like, for any sellers out there, like, we have tons of sellers listening to this podcast that, oh, I'm not going to sell my business because there's no buyer out there. But there really is buyers out there if you still have a quality business. And for buyers out there, FBA is still a great business to buy, even if the aggregators have all died, which is my next question for you. You and I both have, brushed arms with the aggregators throughout the years, met many of them. And now a lot of these titans of the industry that were kind of the darling of COVID in a sense, or e-commerce roll-ups, a lot of them have gone away. I believe it is now official. Thrasio is in bankruptcy. So that's like out there in public. So now I can talk about it. But other aggregators, they are now telling some of our sellers, like, hey, on that earnout, how about we give you equity in our failing business instead of paying you the earnout, right? Which obviously sellers don't like. So, in your opinion, from what you've seen and working with some of these guys, what do you think happened there? How did this house of cards fall apart for them?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of different things, but I'll tell you my observations. The first thing is, you mentioned people are not buying businesses. You're completely right. They still are. It's just like no longer this like rainbows land where you could sell
Give
your business
you
for,
get a Tesla. You get a Tesla.
yeah,
That was my favorite thing for the aggregators, giving away Teslas for referrals.
yeah, it was crazy. I mean, it's like, it just, if you have a business right now that is making 1 million, 1.5 million in profit, it's very stable. It is not like, dependent on the operator. It's 100% sellable. I know people who are very rich and are like, man, my money is depreciating. What should I do? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, my cash is depreciating. Should I put it in real estate? Should I put it? And a lot of them come to me and say, should I buy Amazon businesses? And it's like, oh, this is the worst. I don't want to give you an answer because I don't know what's going to happen. But
Send them to me, Minas. I'll tell them
yeah,
yes. We
that's
can
pretty
work out
much
a
what
deal.
yeah. But here's what I think happened is, number one, the valuations were crazy. And I know that a lot of them banked on the fact, okay, we're gonna buy you for 6x, and our business, because it's so large and the EBITDA is so big, and we're, have so many hero SKUs, it's gonna be worth 12x. And so,
Yep.
they're already winning just by doing that. That's cool, right? But that hurt them from a cash perspective. Obviously, they had to raise a lot of like debt and all that kind of stuff. But then I think my interactions with a lot of those aggregators was, you removed the scrappiness that allowed the business to succeed on Amazon. A lot of them, I think Thrasio was one of those where they come in, they buy the business, and they Like we just want to get the operator out to do it our way. And I think they've had a lot of good success stories, but I think ultimately came down to they had more of not those success stories. I know Angry Orange was one of them. And I, by the way, I just want to put it out there that I
Also
love.
sold on the EF marketplace, just a
Yeah,
little shout.
I love that. I love that. But I just want to shout out the aggregators, right? Because they created this like industry for us. I feel like before them, obviously Empire Flippers existed, but no one really paid attention to us. And then after them, like Amazon as an industry as a whole became way more valuable and got a lot more attention. But I think that they ended up like underestimating how difficult it is to operate a brand on Amazon. It requires like a very kind of scrappy mentality that the founders typically had that like corporate employees didn't. And so
Yeah,
when I would talk and interact with their teams, a lot of the times I would get this sense of like, you're there, you're doing your job. Like, who is that person that is like, I need to do whatever it takes to make this brand work? Because that's what it takes to succeed on Amazon. And it seems like, you're either a nice D2C brand, omni-channel, you're getting, you're building a business with Amazon as a sales channel, or you're a founder that is like Amazon built and is like super scrappy and you're building. But I don't see the in between where you can basically be a company that hires these employees to run your business on Amazon and expect, because the thing with Amazon is every day there's something new. Every week there's a new report, there's a new update, there's a new algorithm change, right? We don't know what's going on, but it's like you have to pivot. And so
yep.
you need these like scrappy innovators that are constantly testing. And I feel like it's hard to find that when you're working in a nice like large corporate company. How do you get that like scrappiness of like, I have to do whatever it takes, like I'm gonna call everyone I know in the industry until I figure an answer out for what just happened. Like for example, one time, and this is by the way a perfect example of what happens on Amazon. My listing got suspended and all of my inventory was stranded, so which means I can't sell it. And it said that I had like a issue in like a missing description or something. So I put the description in. I'm like, I don't know how all of a sudden it's missing. Saved it, no change. Like, okay, trying to diagnose, fix the listing, no change, no change. Calling Amazon, calling the catalog team. Literally, there's no reason why. Like, there's nothing wrong with the listing. The description is there, it's not stranded. Then I call a friend and I'm like, I have no idea what to do. And she's like, I just encountered this. And here's what you need to do. You need to go in, create a removal order, remove all of your inventory, remove, right? Quote unquote, remove. We're not actually going to remove it, but we're going to create the order. There'll be no stranded inventory left. Delete the listing, download the flat file first, delete it, wait 15 minutes, upload the flat file back in, then it's back, and then go cancel your like removal order. And then it's going to work. And then I followed those steps and then it worked. And I'm like, tell me who is going to figure that out. And this is like, because when you're operating like under the laws of like logic as a normal kind of employee, you're like, this is not logical. And that's it. Like, it's what can I do?
Yeah, yeah,
You
dead
have
end
to,
city. Like
you have
best
to
way
have
best way for Amazon customer support.
exactly. Yeah. And Amazon customer support is not going to do anything. They're just going to be like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that, blah, blah, blah. They're just going to read off of an SOP, which is like worthless.
And
So,
I had a very similar experience with Facebook actually not too long ago. I was trying to run these ads and there was something that was messing up. And I knew it was some kind of weird checkbox inside of the Meta back office. But I got on the phone with Meta support. To their credit, they actually had a person for me to talk to. But she was convinced it was something I was doing. And as we were going through it, I killed her on the phone for like an hour. Like, no, it's definitely something on your guys' side. And I finally found it. It was in this tucked away in this like hidden menu, submenu of a submenu of a submenu. It was just this one checkbox that was not ticked. So I had to check it, click save. Then the ad was fine. And I told her, and she like didn't even know this menu even existed, because it's so labyrinthine. I got like $100 free ad spend credit for the hour. So, not all is lost, but yeah, definitely, man. I think you're right. One of the things I've thought about with the aggregators, a demolition that's happened is they're really good at M&A. We talked to them and like these guys had investment banking backgrounds a lot of the time, and they were like really good at structuring deals, but not so good on the actual operational side. And I think Thrasio in the beginning, they were quite good because they actually
yeah.
were operators before they got into the ag stuff. But a lot of the aggregators had no real FBA experience, right? And I think that really was telling as they grew to the exact point that you just made. Plus, the ever threatening thing of the investors, like you must deploy the capital, and just this huge rush. And I remember one guy made a deal, and he asked if he found out this other aggregator had put in an offer, so he put in an offer. I was like, "What are you doing? You haven't done any due diligence?" He's like, "Yeah, but if they're doing it, it must be good." Just like relying on the fact that he heard this other aggregator put an offer, like this is probably not going to end well.
That's yeah. I think it's a combination of that. I think I also have talked. I mean, we've hired a couple employees from aggregators, and they just told me there was so much bloat in terms of like labor, and there's so many people on a team, and no one knew like why there was so many people on a team, and like it was unnecessary. It wasn't lean, and I think it's just a combination of like you're loose with your spending, and we've seen this happen many times, right? You're loose with your spending, and you're not tight. You think like it's a bull market, something happens, like a major event happens. I remember, like, I think the Long Beach port thing really messed a lot of people up,
Yeah,
and really,
that was like
hurt a lot of
crazy.
businesses. Yeah, stuff in China happening, and then at the same time, your operations, like operations are good, they're not bad, but it's just like you don't have someone there on each brand to keep up with the pace of the change on Amazon. And they should have, I think, acquired like some smaller agencies. You know what I mean? Like acquire
Yeah.
the agencies, give them like some skin in the game so that they feel like they gotta keep pushing the needle, and they'll figure it out. Because that's, agencies slash like founders. I feel like a lot of the people that they acquired were like burnout founders. I'm burnt out of having my Amazon business. Like I just want
Please
to,
take this away from me.
yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, it would have been way nicer if you there is a few of them that were very smart. I believe like one of them, I don't know if like the person wants me to mention or whatever, but there was one of them that acquired a really big brand, I think for 100 million, and they kept the owner on for I think 2 years. And we're friends. Me and him are good friends, and they kept him on just so he can train them and build their team. And they acquired the whole team and everything, and they needed him because without him, they weren't going to be able to make it work. So
Yeah. $100
I think,
million deals, I'm surprised it was only 2 years, a brand that big. I would expect more like a 3, 4 year kinda handover.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it was two, because maybe it was three, but I mean, we just saw him in Italy and we talked about it. And I think he's been done for a year. So it has to be like no more than two.
Nice, nice. Do you think the aggregator swallowing part had any other knock-on effects where, the smaller FBA sellers are still operating today?
No, I think they've only done positive. Here's one amazing thing, sorry to say that it's an amazing thing, but to kind of shed light on the situation, but, or not shed light, but like the silver lining. And before, when I started building my agency back in, 2021, it was very, very, very difficult to find Amazon talent.
Mhm.
And, I would basically interview people. I'm like, no one's that good. No one deserves, any pay that they're asking for. And they were very scarce to come by. So I'm like, I'm gonna build everything in house. And then after all of this has happened, there is an abundance of really, really, really high level talent and people who've kind of been through it. And because they've worked in an aggregator, they had like obviously a lot of good SOP structure and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's also been a really good benefit in terms of like the talent pool and the market. Like I've
That's
been able.
interesting. I didn't consider that. That makes a lot of sense now, probably more than ever, because a lot of those guys are probably seeking jobs. Like for
Yeah.
a smaller FBA seller, you could like probably get some pretty strong talent working for you now.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, like I wouldn't say everyone who's worked for an aggregator is good. Do your due diligence as usual. Have a very like thorough interview process. But they just opened up. Like now, the same people that I hired, I can hire someone who already knows, like like
The
a
lay of the
lot of
land.
the stuff that I
Yeah.
had to train them, and then I can train them from scratch, or like build them up from there. But like versus, I used to hire engineers with zero Amazon FBA knowledge because they were intelligent, and then build them up and show them exactly how to do Amazon FBA. And I was like, you should leave your horrible engineering job and come work for me. Work, from home and in this like very exciting industry.
That what used to be one of our USPs before 2020, man. Come work for the empire. You can work anywhere around the world, work from home. And now everyone does it like, oh no, like we've been promoting this. Maybe we should have never promoted
Yeah.
this. Now everyone's doing it, so it's not really a big benefit. Moving back more into the people still running their FBA businesses, have there been any new advertising strategies you see that are working, or is it still kind of the same old faithfuls? Like, what are you seeing out there?
No, I mean, there's definitely some improvements. I'll say the first thing is Amazon. released like a few cool things. The first thing is they are now allowing us to do discounts on the first subscribe and save. That's been huge for me personally. And half of our portfolio is like CPG, supplements, and health brands. And but just by adding like a deep discount on the first subscribe and save on top of the usual 5 or 10 that you get, that's been helping us build our subscriber list, which is significantly reducing our cost of acquisition over time. And this is again like a long-term thing, which is like the more subscribers that we, bring on. And I think for me personally, MMA Nutrition, in 3 months, I was able to add 800 new subscribers. And they order on a 90-day because it's 100 servings. So every 3 months they replenish. I mean, I'm releasing a new one that's going to be a 30-day supply. And you best believe I'm giving like an insane, you know, like half off your first subscribe and save because they're just going to order every 30 days and they're going to love the flavor and they're going to love it. So that's number one. Number two, Amazon, I'm seeing that they're flirting with allowing us to contact people. They created brand tailored promotions, which
Mm.
are essentially like abandoned cart. You can basically create a discount and they will send the email and then it'll say, hey, you forgot, here's an extra, 10% if you check out. And so anyone who adds to cart and doesn't check out, you can now send them a discount to, anyone who has purchased multiple times, you can send them a discount to get them to purchase again. Anyone who's in the top 10%, I think, of spenders on your, like they've spent a lot with your brand across different products, you can send them like discounts to, sell them different things. So they're empowering us there. And then they released a very, very, very like powerful report called the Search Query Performance Report. Until the Search Query Performance Report, you could see keyword level data only in ads. So if I'm running ads on a electrolyte powder, I can see the number of people coming in and the impressions and the click-through rate and conversion rate only on an ad level. The problem with that is Amazon's ad metrics are completely like unreliable. The attribution is off. It's essentially like, Facebook post iOS 14 where Facebook says you made $600, and you actually only made $320 on your website. You're like, what's going on? It's the same with Amazon. You have total sales, which are comprised of organic and sponsored, and you never really know how much sponsored and how much organic is because they're constantly like misattributing it. So, for example,
Does
I'll
not
see,
surprise me.
yeah, I'll see like 1 week my ad revenue goes up, 1 week my ad revenue goes down, and I'm like, oh my god, why is it yo-yoing so much? But you'll see your total sales are exactly the same, and then you're like, okay, I just think that there's this noise and it's like too large. So now with the Search Query Performance Report, again, it's not 100% reliable, but you can use it a lot better. On a keyword level, they can show you the total impressions that you're getting for that keyword, the total clicks you're getting for that keyword, add to carts, and purchases, not just how many you're getting, but how much the whole market for that keyword has. So it can tell me like electrolytes has 6 million impressions a month and you're getting 250,000 of those. And so then what I can do is I say, okay, cool, what is my organic and sponsored rank? My sponsored rank is 17. Perfect, I'm going to bump up the bids, get it to sponsored rank 5. Sponsored rank 5, let's see what happens to my impressions. My impressions go up. I notice that my impression share goes up, which means I have more share of the total impressions. And if this is a keyword that I'm seeing that I have a high conversion rate on, from that report, I'm hypothetically going to convert better on it. So I can now dig deeper and say, okay, now that the ads are not that reliable, what if I just looked at all the keywords that are converting the best? And remember, this is somewhat flawed because you type in a keyword like electrolyte powder, you see me, you click on me, you type in another keyword, electrolyte powder, sugar free, and then you see me, and then you click on that one, and then you buy, and then I don't know what the relationship is, right? But at least now we have some data on a keyword level where I can tweak the ad spend and I can say, okay, I'm tracking my rank on sponsored rank. I'm tracking my purchases for that keyword. I'm going to increase my bids. I'm going to watch my spend and I'm going to watch the delta and I'm going to watch the total revenue delta. And if my total revenue is up, if my, purchases on that keyword is up and my spend is up, I can now figure out, okay, change in revenue and change in spend, what's my actual return on that spend like incrementally. So those are like some really cool updates Amazon's releasing. They also released premium A plus content a while back. They're now making it even easier to get. It used to be that you need to submit 15 A plus content modules and get it approved. Now it's only 5. You just have to have a brand story on all your SKUs, and you need 5 approved A plus content modules. And then you open up a case and apply, and you tell them like, hey, I'm eligible for premium A plus. They give it to you, and that looks like a much better landing page. And so I think they're also improving the customer experience when it comes to they land on the page. How are they viewing your images, your videos, and your A plus content? Now there's like, what's the story of the brand? And then a nice, beautiful landing page design, which you can literally copy, what you have. You're just limited. You're like, okay, we're gonna give you, these like 24 inches of space to create the best landing page that you can. And then you go and you create it. Now everyone has a landing page, but if they keep that standardized model of, it's going to be images, video, price, reviews, and then you go down, what's the brand, and then the landing page. And the reviews, like the actual reviews, you can read them at the bottom. So they keep that standard, which is nice because me as a shopper, I know exactly where to go whenever I want to find anything. But now they're giving you a little bit more creativity to convert customers.
That was a great recap. That sounds like there's quite a bit of development since last you and I spoke. I'm very curious on. I doubt they would ever do this, but you said they were letting you flirt with your actual customers now, and that was always like one of the hardest things about FBA is like you don't get the customer data, or at least not very easily. Do you think that might change where they'll allow you to start building your actual email list to your actual company from those customers that come through the Amazon checkout?
Yes, I think they're going to allow eventually email marketing through them. So they're going to build
Through
their
them.
own internal Clavio, whatever. And I think like this is my gut feeling, and I'll tell you why. Because their number one incentive is to maximize the number of purchases that happen on their site. They just partnered with Facebook and Meta. So right now, you have like Facebook and Instagram with direct integration with your Amazon store. So you run an ad and they click, okay, I'm interested. It's like a whatever, it's like Old Spice ad, and you're like, yeah, I need this deodorant. You open it up, and it opens the product detail page inside of Facebook. It's the same Amazon product detail page, but it's in Facebook. And then you click to buy now, and it's saved. Your Facebook account is saved to your Amazon account, so it allows you to just that one click buy with your payment and address and everything all saved right then and there. So I think that's going to be huge. So they're starting to now build this ecosystem of like, okay, we're a marketplace where you go look for stuff, but also like, how do we compete with TikTok Shop, right, where people are discovering and buying? Well, they're discovering now on Facebook and Meta. And by the way, none of this is like fully live yet. They announced the partnership. This is coming, but you advertise on Facebook and Meta, you check out with all of Amazon's logistics, you still have that same experience, you have that same trust. So how can Shopify even compete also? Like if I'm advertising on Facebook and Meta, and I'm like, it's the trust factor of Amazon and their customer service and their 1 to 2 day shipping, like what's the point of having Shopify?
Yeah, that does put Shopify in an interesting position because I mean, most DTC e-commerce brands I know they use heavily meta ads, right?
Yeah.
Now with TikTok Shop like seemingly blowing up, like I haven't looked too deep into it myself. Like maybe you can give some color on it, but it does look like it's going really well, and that it sounds like TikTok is trying to punch Amazon in the face, and Amazon's going to Meta. Where does this leave Shopify, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be tough. I think Shopify is with TikTok, right? Because the TikTok shop is
They are.
essentially,
That's right.
yeah,
That integration is with TikTok. I forgot
yeah.
about that. I thought it was TikTok just doing it on their own.
No. I think the TikTok is integrating with the back end of Shopify, and they're empowering influencers. Now, if you're listening to me and you're like choosing sides, don't. I mean,
It's all
you're
a channel.
it's all for you. Make more money, right? Start utilizing and leveraging influencers on like TikTok. It just sucks that you can't also like leverage Amazon. But what we found is we worked with like some like really big brands, like some of them are celebrities and things like that. And what we found is when they do a big influencer push, like the one that I can remember the most is Joe Rogan mentioning Neurogum on their podcast, and there was an immediate spike in their brand searches. But that doesn't matter because it kind of does matter, but it doesn't really matter. What really matters is that all of their organic ranking went up. And so we're like, this is interesting. Let me see what's going on with these other ones. And we would ask them like to time their like, influencers or whatever. And we would notice that every single time an influencer or like a celebrity or whatever, like there was a big push, a video went viral, their branded searches would go up but that would result in all of their organic ranking go up. So like just
Mhm.
random broad keywords like electrolytes or caffeine gum, caffeine mints, whatever, those keywords would go up in rank organically. And I think that is a signal from Amazon that they're positively rewarding brands that are bringing outside traffic, because they can see referral traffic, right? And they can see like brand searches and things like that. So they're rewarding people who are coming in and looking for those people specifically, or being redirected from different sites, because you're bringing more people to the platform and they're converting more. So if I were you, leverage TikTok as much as possible. Influencers there, the virality of TikTok is still, I think, like you can't compete with it. And then leverage TikTok Shop for sure. But then also for everyone who doesn't want to check out on Shopify, you're going to get the benefit of the lift on Amazon. And then leverage the when the Meta ads are like live integration with Amazon, leverage the shit out of that.
Yeah, I like that. I think too many of my, oh, but you probably see this too. Too many of our friends are too mono channel. Like, nope, I only do SEO or only Amazon PPC, only meta ads. And like, that's to me a tragedy because I was telling you earlier, like, we are pivoting, not pivoting too much, but we're going harder into DTC commerce and agencies hopefully in 2024. And I think if you own an e commerce product that is good quality business, like, you are in one of the best positions, like one of the best business models in my view, like better than SaaS. Like SaaS always gets the like awards or whatever, but in my view, like if you run a solid e-commerce store, you can use pretty much every marketing channel under the sun. And it's not like your detergent product is going to become obsolete because some VC put in $100 million to build a better detergent, right? Like, I guess it could happen, but it's more less likely than your social media scheduling tool you built. Like you're going to get crushed by them, right? So I'm a fan of having that like multi-channel strategy for sure. I wanted to ask you before we move on 2D because I forgot to ask you, but you kind of already said it. Outside of everything you already said about the new advertising avenues that Amazon has, is there any other way that a person could stand out that you haven't mentioned yet? Because it has gotten more crowded, right? So
Yeah.
if I wanted to start selling on Amazon, say I'm brand new, like maybe not even ran an e-commerce store, what would be your advice to me outside of what you've already said?
Yeah. So I would say like prepare better, and I'll share with you my exact strategy on how to do that. And this is how I advise like any client who is launching, and this is how I did mine, my new like stick packs on MMA. But essentially, you need to understand the market, and you need to understand how you're going to differentiate yourself from like a utility standpoint, not like a we're more premium, or we're a little bit more green or something. It needs to be like, I have a problem. My problem is I sweat a lot and I need electrolytes. And here's a list of things that I don't like about other products. And I'll explain how to get that. Here's a list of things that I do like about other products, electrolytes in the market. How can you create a solution that's better than everyone else? And so that is the first. Don't go to market if you don't have that, idea. What I do is I go to Helium 10's Chrome extension. They have a review insights tool, and I can download all the one-star reviews for my competitors, all the five-star reviews of my competitors, feed it into ChatGPT, and get summaries on what are all the things that people love, all the things that people hate. And that's
It
been
only I'm glad we got to AI before the 40-minute mark. I knew it was gonna come up somewhere in
uh,
this podcast.
it's only a matter of time until I have someone right here next to me that's a robot version of me.
Dude,
So,
so this is a little bit of a funny aside, but have you heard of 11 Labs?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, a
So,
friend sent me a voice note of myself saying, "Oh,
so this
I love I love this guy's agency, whatever." And I'm like, "Yo, I never said this," and it was like crazy.
So I had the exact same thing happen to me. I have a friend here in Vietnam. He sold like a 30-second clip of from our YouTube channel of me speaking. And now whenever he wants to go get beers, he'll just send a version like my voice to myself, like, hey Greg, you want to hang out with Ben? I think fake Greg really wants you to do it. And real Greg would probably like it. Like I've been deep faked to like hang out with my friends now. What a wild world. But anyways, sorry. So ChatGPT to aggregate the reviews. That makes sense. Keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's also a tool called Data Dive, I believe. They also
Oh
have the
yeah, data
ability,
dive. Yeah.
yeah, you kind of pull different ASINs in there, and then they can, quickly do that for you. There's another one, I think, also. It begins with a SH. I'll remember. But get that information. So now that you have that information, go and do some like focus groups. So I actually went to the gym, like multiple gyms, and I started talking to a lot of like men and women and saying, "Hey, what do you like about electrolytes? Do you use them? Why not? Etc. Etc. Then I went deeper. I'm like, okay, cool. Let me go to hot yoga classes and talk to them. Let me go to spin classes and talk to them. Let me go to I went to some soccer games. You guys were playing soccer. I'm like, you guys use electrolytes? Yes, no, why? And so I got a lot of valuable information. And then I went to my manufacturer and I said, okay, we need to. And the beautiful thing about this product's manufacturer is he's also a friend and a client, and he has multiple eight-figure supplement brands, so he's in
Nice.
the game too. And I'm like, okay, dude, we need to come up with something that's going to displace this. So that's kind of how we thought about it. That's how I recommend people do. Then you have what you think before you go to the next step of okay, let me actually make it. I have my designer create a 3D render, or anyone has their designer create a 3D render, and then I go to Intellivy or pickfu.com. Intellivy is Intellivy, something like that. And basically, if you type in that word in Amazon, it'll show up. But this is where you can get feedback from people on the internet, like crowdsourcing feedback. I also believe that you can do it with SurveyMonkey. But I'll put my image versus my competitor's image. Now, my product doesn't even exist, it's not even created yet, but they can see my product versus my competitors. And I'll ask people, if you were to buy an electrolyte powder, which one would you click on and why? And then I get all of that feedback. And if I'm not winning on a creative level, just that image stands out and it beats all the competitors, I need to iterate. And I'll iterate and iterate and iterate. And then once I have that piece, then I'll go, I'll make the product, test it, make sure that, people in the market like it. Then I'll officially launch. And so that preparation is what allows people to stand out and succeed on Amazon, because you're creating a solution that's better than everyone else on the market. From a branding and an eye-catching perspective, you're going to win. You also can test the price. So you can say, hey, here's my main image and it's priced at 17.99 versus these ones are 15.99 or 21.99. And you can make everyone has an equal 5-star review, so that there's no bias based on review. And you're based on image and price alone, would mine still win? And you can literally do all of the, I guess, forecasting of if the product's going to work or not before you actually go live. Because if it's not, then don't waste the money and then being I got to pivot or whatever. So that's the homework that I would do if you wanted to stand out now in 2023, aka 2024.
I like that. I think that would turn a lot of people off, but at the same time, there's so much value to doing what you just said, the preparation of it all, even down to the image creation. And people think that's a lot of work, but it's also a lot cheaper than spending 50 grand on a product to get into Amazon that doesn't work, right? Which
Wait,
is exactly what my sister did, man. Years ago, my sister, she started an FBA business, right? And I was giving her advice, which of course she listened to none of my advice. I told her to don't get into yoga pants. This is apparel is really hard, especially if you're new. You have all the sizes, all the different colors, all the child SKUs, so much to think about. Did not listen to me, and now she still, all these years later, has a room full of dozens of yoga pants. So Minas, if you want to buy some, let me know. Because I actually went to a yoga studio to help her out. She's like, what have I done? So I went to this yoga studio and I ended up selling 50 pairs to them so they could sell to their
wow.
clients. Just help her recoup the cost. So I'm the number one salesman of these yoga pants.
Damn,
So
dude, that's
let
a
me know
rough.
if you want to put in an order.
Yeah, that's a really, really rough, and I'm with you, man. There's too many clients that we do launch. Unfortunately, they come to us and, we help them with their launch. And I'm like, okay, we're going to do whatever we can, increase your review count, improve your creative, whatever. And at the end of the day, it's just this just won't sell because you don't have a clear differentiator on the market. And I mean, it's 2024. I have everything at my disposal, at my fingertips on Amazon. I go in and I want this X thing. There's nothing stopping me from getting the best of the best, and and getting a deal on it too.
Yeah.
So it's you have to, it's no longer, yeah, let me just put this up. And we have to be in an elevator together. And in 10 seconds, you have to convince me that yours is better than anything on the market. And if you can't, then just keep working. And by the way, it doesn't take that long. It's I think an hour to get all the reviews, maybe an hour to do some of the market research, call it 2 hours, an hour to be, in the gyms and whatever, like I did. It only took me a couple hours. It's nothing crazy. The design, No Limit Creatives has great designers for $500 a month. You can get 60 different designs in the span of a month. So it's nothing crazy. It's just, you're right. You're doing a lot of the hard work now and spending a little bit more money. Maybe on the polls, you're going to spend a little bit more money in exchange of not, risking losing 50K or 20K or whatever on launching, a product.
Yeah, I mean, you're sharpening the sword against the whetstone, so to speak, before you like actually start the battle of battling with all these other people on Amazon, right? You might as well make sure you have the strongest weapon you can to like cut through it all, right? So we're coming up towards the end of the podcast. I didn't get to ask you all the questions I wanted to ask, but I am very curious with like where we're at, like in this somewhat of a bear market, certainly in a bear market in the M&A world, though good businesses are still being sold. Where do you think things are going in 2024? Do you see that kind of recovering, bumping up, or do you see doom on the horizon? Tell me your thoughts.
No, I think we still have like about another year, if you ask me. And I really feel like it's all like a relationship with like the interest rates and the market and things like
Yeah.
that. So I would say in 2024, if I were you, and this is what I'm doing with my agency and with my businesses, is get super lean, understand every single cost, build as much efficiency as you can in your business. And then if you are on Amazon, like, can't speak too much to ecom, but if you are on Amazon, you need to like start competing at the highest level. So identify every area of opportunity, main images, listing images, videos, your PDP, how to like track that your traffic, like your keywords that you're launching are performing well. You have no wasted spend, or like, you have very clear limits. You just, use all the tools that you have, subscribe and save, brand tailor promotions, DSP retargeting, whatever it may be. I think it's getting more and more competitive. The amount of competition coming in is not slowing down. So get competitive, get super lean. I think you can weather through 2024 and still be profitable. Definitely invest part of your budget into influencer marketing. I think that's, one way that people are cutting through the noise is by utilizing other people, and especially on TikTok now. I think it's really going well for a lot of the brands that I talk to that are using a lot of different creators to create content, and it's cheap. You can probably crack a way of like, hire someone to do outreach to 50 people a day, you know offer them like free product, or free product, a little bit of
Mhm.
cash. If they're a good creator and they're not like big, it's going to be $50, and they might get you 10,000 views or 50,000 views, and you're like, oh, I'll pay you 50 an hour, and it's like it
Yeah,
takes them
yeah.
an hour.
Those smaller creators are sometimes way better than the big ones. Like for the
Yeah.
bang for the buck you get. Obviously, not the same scale, but those people who follow the smaller creators tend to be a lot more fanatical about the smaller creator, right?
True, true. And I think that's my prediction. Amazon is releasing more tools and things like that for us to use. Use everything under the sun, anything that they release. Like, I've even noticed that sometimes just filling out all of the information in the back end, even if a lot of it is useless, helps, improve sales on a product. It's just like, I think, deem you a better seller because you're, filling things out better.
Yeah. Well, we have now reached the lightning round, my friend. So I'm going to ask you three questions. You give me three short answers. Are you prepared?
I'm prepared.
Are you sure?
I mean, I never read the questions, but I'm prepared.
That was one of the questions. It was a very easy, easy one of the three. All right. So the real lightning round. In your opinion, what are the best hidden growth opportunities for an Amazon FBA owner today?
I think premium A plus content, main image optimization, and utilizing Amazon demand side platform.
What tools or resources can people use to help optimize their FBA business?
Get the Trivium's growth toolbox. I literally put every single macro that I had, and guide and anything in that toolbox. So go to my YouTube channel, and I'm pretty sure, like, well, my YouTube channel is a great tool also, but then also, yeah, the toolbox. I would say that's where I get most of. I mean, that's where we put all of our tools, and that's where you can get most of like the guides and macros and everything that we built.
I'm glad you actually recommended yourself because usually when I do invite vendors on the show, it's people I tend to trust, right? And like when I ever ask that question, they'll like be giving it away sometimes to the competitor, like, no, send them to your site. What are you doing? Give yourself a plug. But yeah, awesome. I didn't even realize you had a YouTube channel. I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, yeah. We
Well,
have
look,
I have like 65 or 6,600 subscribers there. And then,
nice, nice.
yeah, and then if you just go to triviumco.com, triviumco.com, that's where, you'll see everything that we have, and like the toolbox and all that kind of stuff.
And we'll put all the links in the show notes for the episode for sure. All right. So I don't know how you're going to answer this. I'm pretty sure you don't remember your previous answers, but I'll ask it, though it might be the third time you said it. So, what has been your funniest moment working in the FBA industry?
Oh, my funniest moment. Man, that's tough. I feel like there's not that many funny moments in
It's all
working in VA.
disaster.
It's all getting screwed over. Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story, right? This has nothing to do with Amazon specifically, but it has to do with my manufacturing. And basically, one day back when I was still in corporate building MMA nutrition, I come home from work and I'm looking at reviews on my product, and someone says it tastes like fish water. It's so disgusting. And I'm like, come on, there's no way. Like, my products taste good. Like, I tasted them. And then I started getting 5, 10, 15 different reviews that said this tastes like shrimp water, fish water. It's like I drank an aquarium. And I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? And then me and my friend, my roommate actually, we were going to MMA together. So he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna make some, hard work and we're gonna mix it and go. I'm like, okay, cool. So get in the car, I'm driving, and then my roommate tastes it. And he's like, oh my God, bro, this tastes like shrimp water. And I'm like, what's going on? And then I'm like, let me taste. And I tasted, I'm like, this actually tastes like shrimp water. And I'm like, oh my God, like, is my business gonna shut down? Like, what the hell? Like, I just can't figure it out. So then I took like an old sample, one of my first samples, and then I took a new, like, old product, new product, and I mixed them and I tasted. And then when I initially drank it, there was nothing bad. But if I left it for a few minutes, that fish taste came out, and I'm like, what on earth is going on? I called my manufacturer, and I'm like, arguing with him, and I found out that he switched like batches, and he was using like a one type of like potassium bicarbonate, whatever, I forget the ingredient, but it was, and then he used a different one, and one was like a regular source and the other one was a marine source. And because it was a marine source,
Hmm.
it tasted like, I mean, I don't know if it was supposed to even taste, but it started tasting, and I'm like, okay, I have to like recall 1,000 units. The good thing is not that many people, like, I mean, I got like, I would say like 100 negative reviews from that, but I
Oof.
was like combating them with positive reviews. And then I texted every single person that got it, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, the manufacturer switched it up and I apologize, and replaced it for free. And I live to tell the story, basically.
God, that is funny in hindsight, terrifying in the moment.
Yeah, yeah. It was, yeah, I mean, shrimp water. Like, imagine people are like drinking it, like, oh my God. Honestly, it did taste like shrimp water. Like, if you left like fish in a water and then tasted it, that's what I expected to taste like.
So there's this food in Vietnam. Like most food in Vietnam is absolutely awesome. Like it's really, really good. And for the most part, pretty healthy. But there's this one type of food, like my wife, she's Vietnamese, and every now and then she'll cook it. And I know I'm just not going to be in the apartment for the next day. like I just like get outside as fast as I can. It's shrimp paste. And I like
Oh,
shrimp, but shrimp paste, ooh, it is like people always joke in Southeast Asia about the smell of durian, which I actually don't mind. I actually like durian, not the smell, but the taste of it. But shrimp paste, like, oh my god, dude, like it is terrifyingly
100.
bad. It is really bad. So
Yeah,
I'm glad you solved your shrimp water. Hopefully, it didn't smell as bad as shrimp paste. That would have been probably would have got another 100 negative reviews. But
yeah. No,
there was a very funny aside. Years ago, I went on Amazon, and I think the product was supposed to do this because it was just a stupid product. But I was looking to buy my dad a barrel of oil. This is when I was still in the oil field, and my dad is an old oil field guy too. So I thought it'd be funny because oil was really cheap back in 2016. There was a big crash, so I looked to buy it and found out you can't legally buy a barrel of oil. Go figure. But on Amazon, I did find this product where people, and they marketed it as a organic hair growth solution where you put this petroleum on your head, and it literally is just like a little thing of crude oil. And all the reviews were so funny, like, oh, it smells like gasoline on my porch. Like, is this thing flammable? Like, of course it is. You're literally buying oil. Like, what do you mean? But it's like Pennsylvania crude, all natural. Like, what a weird angle for this
yeah.
petroleum product. But
They
anyhow,
found a way. They found a way to go D2C with petroleum.
yeah, yeah, it was just amazingly
It's so
humorous
fun.
reviews. But we're at the end, my friend. So, if someone wanted to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so my Instagram is at the Mina Elias. The website is triviumco.com, triviumco.com. And then YouTube, definitely check me out, Mina Elias. I'm always dropping a lot of value there. There's also the Trivium Group Instagram, and it's a lot of like standard operating procedures. And if anyone wants to join, the consulting group where I basically share, all my knowledge and all of our tools and our SOPs and everything like that, it's called Trivium Tribe. It's also on the website.
Awesome, awesome, man. We'll put all those links in. Well, thanks for coming on again. Looking forward to the fourth time we get you on.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's set the record.
Awesome, man. Talk to you
Amazing,
soon.
bro. Take it easy.
there you have it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it got you inspired at all the different things that are happening in this industry. And of course, if you just want to buy a highly profitable business, you can always go to empireflippers.com/marketplace. Or maybe you want to make an exit of your highly profitable business, and you could go to empireflippers.com/sell your site. I've been your host, Greg. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you leave a review, give us a like, a follow, share it across social media. Talk to you all soon. See you on the next episode.